It's time for another round of live local play-by-play coverage of Southwest Metro High School sports. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the Mulch Store, Performance Therapy Innovations, Alpha Investment Advisors, The Tavern on 4 and 5, The Sun Current, Home Video Studio, and in partnership with BEC TV, Bloomington Educational Cable Television. Catch all of the action all season long on your home for Southwest Metro Sports, PSB Media. Game time is coming up next.
Hello and welcome to Eden Prairie's Community Center for this PSB Media broadcast between two Lake Conference foes, the Eden Prairie Eagles. Their starting lineups being announced right now. Hopkins Royals #1 in 2A girls hockey this season, 20-1 this season. Started off 11-0 before losing to Wayzata and now won 10 consecutive games. Fantastic team coached by the longtime head coach Vin Palucci. Tremendous offense and great defense backed by their starting goaltender in net tonight, Aaron O'Neill, who's 16-1 with a 1.01 goals against average and a .956 save percentage. This is the second of two regular season conference meetings between these two teams. Hopkins won January 2nd by a score of 2-0. We'll take a break in the action, and if you have a national anthem, and then we'll have the drop of the puck after this. Welcome back to the Eden Prairie Community Center. Kevin Ford with your broadcast solo crew tonight for another Lake Conference matchup between, again, two top 10 ranked teams. Hopkins coming in at #1 in girls 2A. Eden Prairie 13-6 overall compared to the 20-1 of Hopkins is ranked #8. And the reason they're ranked so high is this is a very talented team, just losing to some of the better teams in state. You take a look at some of their losses against #1 Hopkins, against Minnetonka last weekend at the TCF Bank Stadium Classic, which featured a bunch of high school games out on TCF Bank Stadium's turf with the makeshift hockey rink there. They also lost to Benilde St. Margaret's in their midwinter meltdown. Did defeat Wayzata and Edina, two teams ranked ahead of them, and lost to Hillmurray, along with Centennial, one of the few opponents unranked this season that the Eagles have been defeated by. Again, very talented team are the Hopkins Royals, led by their scorer Corbin Boyd and senior, she's a junior, and senior Nina Rogers going to the University of Minnesota next fall, has 25 goals to lead the way, 47 points. Boyd leads the team in assists with 34 and points with 55. Eden Prairie pretty balanced, very deep, can go 3 or 4 lines deep pretty comfortably in the third season under the head coaching of Jamie Grossman. Last year this team, of course, made it to the state tournament and would like to get back there this year. Jamie would say his team is in a good position. Graduated a couple of key seniors from a year ago. Just 3 seniors graduated, but all 3 of them very invaluable, including 5-year starter in net Mackenzie Johnson, and 5-year starter on the blue line, Tess Rail. Puck deflects out as we're just underway from the EP Community Center. From a face-off again at center ice, right between the P and E of the EP Eagles logo. Pretty good turnout on hand for one of the last few warm days over the next 6 or so. Looking at weather.com, temperatures expected to be back in the teens next week, which not looking forward to. Hopkins, their only loss this season coming against Lake Conference opponent Wayzata. That was on the road. They're 8-1 on the road so far, and Eden Prairie, they've struggled a little bit on the road, 4-4, so not as good as they were last year on the road record-wise. At home, though, practically unbeatable, 8-1 coming into this game. Their lone loss, while it was technically on home ice, it was during tournament play. We'll still count it for the sake of arguments. It was against Benilde St. Margaret's, that 3-2 loss. Eden Prairie's Charlie Dahlquist down to Angie Heppelman. They've played together for the longest of times. Molinar swings it down low now, laid back behind the boards. Ashley Astor can't keep it in the offensive zone, and it's taken away. Back the other way comes Stella Haberman. She turns the puck over. Dahlquist, good feed up ahead, Kalowski. She'll head toward us on the near sideline. Play it in and give chase. Aaron O'Neill pokes it back out, looking for an outlet pass to intended target Shorty Sheeran. Have to replay it back around the boards and finally clear the zone. Sheeran, the pass a little too steep for her. Lauren Boyle comes racing into the offensive zone. A shot put in on net, kicked aside with a stick by Aaron O'Neill, who's been fantastic this year. Multiple years as the starting goaltender for the Hopkins Royal, and this year has been her best. Just a 1.01 goals against average. And if you were watching the game we covered January 2nd, pretty much everything that Eden Prairie tried to do offensively was saved or thwarted by Aaron O'Neill. The lone exception was a shot by Angie Heppelman that hit off the crossbar, or actually the right post, and it had beaten O'Neill, but the posts were there to make the save. 14:34 left in this first period. Still no score. Hopkins looking to try to cement itself as the front runner in Lake Conference and in Section 6. Section 6 is extremely loaded in girls hockey. You look up and down the rankings, you've got Hopkins and Minnetonka, Benilde St. Margaret's, Wayzata, Edina, Lakeville North are your top 6 teams. Well, the top 4 teams are all in Section 6 AA, so one of the unfortunate things about section tournament play for girls hockey, one of those teams will come out of the sections to make it to the state tournament. The penalty will be called on the takedown. So Nina Rogers going over to the sin bin. First penalty, power play opportunity for Eden Prairie on this season. 11 power play goals. They've converted 23% of their attempts. Nina Rogers, 2-minute penalty for tripping today. She also had two minor penalties in that 2-0 win over Eden Prairie January 2nd. Trying to put some pressure on and doing a decent job of it is number 16, Jelaine DeYoung, forcing Lauren Boyle to retreat back behind her own posts. Charlie Dahlquist, some trouble getting it out of her own zone. We'll regroup. Skate past the one Hopkins defender. Right through the seam to the slot, backhands it and scores! Coast to coast, Charlie Dahlquist scores on the power play with 3:31 gone by in the first period. So good pressure initially by Hopkins, but Dahlquist made the one gunner miss, and no one picked her up from there. Skated all the way down between the two hash marks and went up with the backhand, beating Erin O'Neill stick side for a 1-0 Eagles lead. For Dahlquist, that's her 10th goal of the season. As Johnson goes up ahead to Rogge, who gets a quick shot in on Erin O'Neill. Rogge had a very good game the other day against Duluth. A 6-1 victory for Eden Prairie. Ended up with 2 goals, 2 of her 5 on the season. Angie Heppelman also contributed a multi-goal effort. Swinging around and shooting. That one saved by O'Neill. Near side boards. Trying to clear the zone, and Hopkins will succeed for now. Brousseau skates back, looks for an outlet. Creates separation by using the net. Turnover, then a takedown. Hopkins players run into each other. No penalty there. And playing it up into the offensive zone is number 12, Kate Ridland, as they switch up the lines. Icing call against Hopkins with 12:32 to play in the first period. Again, Eden Prairie holding a 1-0 lead on that first period goal at the 3:31 mark on the power play by Charlie Dahlquist. Face-off is won by the Eagles. Shot goes high and a save made on the heel of the stick by Erin O'Neill. Good rip there by Crystalline Hengler. Pass goes up. Nina Rogers skating in quickly. Overshoots her intended target, Rachel St. Clair. And Eden Prairie collects the turnover. Lauren Boyle out into open ice. St. Clair can't keep up with Boyle. The next defender makes Boyle lose handle of the puck. Gretchen Patterson did a nice job, at least poking the puck away initially. Eden Prairie continuing the pursuit, skating a lot faster and more aggressively out of the gates than the Hopkins Royals are. Brousseau, nice series of moves, passes it off to Dahlquist. Miscommunication, and now a breakaway, but losing the puck back the other way was Kylie Hanley. The 8th grader started last year as a 7th grader, and a missed opportunity to get a shot on net against the 8th grader Alexa Dobchuk. Dobchuk and Whitney Paget have split time between the pipes for Jamie Grossman. Both have been outstanding this 2013-14 campaign. You're watching PSB Media. Dangerous cross-ice pass. Just getting it away are the Eagles. But Corbin Boyd now has it. Takes a slapper, blasts that one well wide off the back boards. Carly Molinar, can't handle it. A shot out in front and a glove save by Dobchuk. Good job by Ashley Astor to get her stick out in front. And Jelaine DeYoung did not get much on that slot, or shot from the low slot. Dobchuk able to make an easy change-up catch of the shot. 10:40 to play in the first period. Face-off is won by Hopkins. Bounding puck still in the slot. Finally Ridland takes it and will bounce it off the boards. Up ahead looking for Rogge. Rogge can't handle as the pass was behind her. Ridland, cross-ice pass now to Lauren Boyle. Ridland giving chase, putting the pressure on Nina Rogers. Coming in offside were the Hopkins Royals. We'll have a face-off at neutral ice. Didn't hear if anyone was credited with an assist on that Charlie Dahlquist goal. If it was anybody, it would have been just one of the blue liners who gave the initial pass to Dahlquist, but it was pretty much her entire effort on her own that scored the goal. I'll catch up with play in just a moment. Apologize for that. Just writing something down. One-man crew here this afternoon. Lauren Boyle and Hanley. Hanley wins the battle. Shot out in front, goes wide. Good pass from Hanley. Trying to find Stella Haberman right at the crease. But Haberman rushed the shot and pushed it wide. Nina Rogers up ahead to Hanley. Flip it in. Ricochets back toward Dobchuk, who has to make a save on it. Passes getting a little bit farther apart for Eden Prairie, not as crisp as they were in the first 4 minutes of action. That's a good pass. Up ahead to runner and gunner Charlie Dahlquist. Weaves into the middle and can't get a shot away. Keeping it alive, Dahlquist. Send it back to Brousseau. Her shot goes wide of the net. Looking for the trailer, Kolowski, to maybe redirect that puck in toward the net. Didn't quite happen that way. And Hopkins is able to clear. Ridlin outskates everybody to loose puck. Forward, pulls up at the right face-off circle. Board pass. Inadvertent check and a takedown. Hanley goes down hard as Brousseau, the bigger player, sandwiched her between the boards. Play on. Hopkins still trying to clear their own end. Like the aggressive play of Eden Prairie to start this one. Had a very solid performance against Duluth, and obviously even in that loss last Saturday outdoors at TCF Bank Stadium, Grossman had to have liked the way his girls played in that 2-1 overtime loss to Minnetonka. Anna Johnson forced overtime in the final minute of regulation. But then Sydney Baldwin, a Division I University of Minnesota Gophers bound defenseman, ended up scoring 6 minutes into the overtime for the 2-1 victory. .7:25 to play. Dahlquist gets a shot off, blocked. Good defense there by Laura Clemens. Dahlquist. Brousseau, her shot goes in off the thigh of Jelaine DeYoung. Brousseau will set it up again in the left point. Loses the one-on-one battle with DeYoung. Backdoor pass, St. Clair backhands it wide of the net. Good effort there between DeYoung and St. Clair. Great spacing by the Hopkins Royals, who are one of the better offenses in the state, averaging just about 5 goals per game, but St. Clair couldn't get a clean or accurate enough shot in on the 8th grader Dobchuk. Puck also went out of play, so we have the face-off at neutral ice. And it's won by Eden Prairie. Nina Rogers playing some blue line in this matchup. Long pass up ahead to Sheeran. A takedown penalty as a shot is taken. Save made by Dobchuk, but Stella Haberman, the forward freshman, celebrating the fact that not only did she almost score, but she drew a penalty. This one's going to go against, it looks like, Carly Molinar, the sophomore forward. And the first power play of the game for Hopkins is upcoming with 6:37 to play in the first period. Hopkins, great power play team, 30.5% on the conversion. And Eden Prairie on the penalty kill, 83.3%. Face-off is won by Eden Prairie. A loose puck skating hard ahead for it was Heistad. She doesn't win the foot race with DeYoung, but at least kills some time after a good face-off win for Eden Prairie, trying to kill off a power play. They're going to say it was 2 minor penalties on Carly Molinar, so she's in the box for 4 minutes. So 2 minutes for tripping and 2 for roughing, says the PA announcer. So a golden opportunity for Hopkins. 5:54 and counting left, 3:16 and counting on the man advantage. Boyd is being pinned in the corner. Good pressure D by Anna Johnson. One of the co-captains of this Eagles squad. A good lacrosse player as well. Plays striker just as she does in hockey for the EP lacrosse team. Rebound out in front. Covered up though. And then smothered after it got loose again by the goaltender Dobchuk. 2:54 left in the power play. I'd like to thank our sponsors of this afternoon's broadcast, including Performance Therapy Innovations, Eden Prairie Sun Current, Brandy Warmbier, State Farm Insurance Agent, the Mulch Store, as well as Prop, and others. Face off, a little bit of discussion between the referees and then Grossman and the sideline official. Face off will be won, looks like, by Eden Prairie. Good job again by Heisted, getting the stick on the puck and poking it all the way down to the Hopkins end. Skating up ahead, Boyd loses the handle. Everyone goes down in a heap. Nina Rogers comes away with it. Shot right into the body of Boyle. And another clear, this time by Josie Olson. 2 minutes left on the man advantage. Fry knocked away by Anna Johnson. Boyd out to this point. Rogers, extra pass, back out to the point. Slings that one in. Gets caught and trapped between a couple players' skates in the mid-slot, and then cleared out by the Eagles. Nina Rogers can't get past Kate Ridland's pressure D. Ridland and Anna Johnson both vying for the loose puck and able to clear their own zone. Again, a great job on the penalty kill. Fantastic effort from the Eagles, all involved on their line changes. Boyd passes to no one, intercepted by Hangler and cleared. Sheeran, pass picked off by Josie Olson, who comes in. There comes a shot and a save made by O'Neill. Good pad saves to close the butterfly stance by O'Neill. And Eden Prairie's getting as much offense on this power play kill, penalty kill, as Hopkins is on the man advantage. Brousseau pinning the puck. Horse is still in the stable there. Now finally rolls loose. Pass out to the point. Shot fires in. Curveball. Skates away from everybody and cleared out by Lauren Boyle with 40 seconds to play on the power play. And 3:14 left in this first period. 1-0 Eden Prairie with the lead. Hopkins called for the icing. And Eden Prairie fans like that. Eden Prairie able to kill off that double minor penalty assessed to Carly Molinar. Really only allowed, I believe, 1 or maybe 2 shots on goal. Good defense, good job closing the lanes in their own end by Eden Prairie. Got a lot of pressure on several of the Hopkins point girls. Able to poke pucks loose and clear them pretty consistently. Josie Olsen, I would argue, for Eden Prairie had the best scoring chance. But she skated in 1-on-2 short-handed. And Aaron O'Neill had to kick it aside with the right pad. 1:37 left in this first period. Thanks for bearing with us during a little bit of connection outage. Hopefully we'll be good to go the rest of the way. Rachel St. Clair. Nice series of moves, but Hangler stays right with her. Not fooled, and then takes it away. Great defense by an 8th grader. And a turnover as the pass was trying to go up ahead to Ridland. Shorty Sheeran. Can't get the pass away to Haberman. Sheeran looks for Hanley, intercepted by Josie Olsen inside of 50 seconds to play. Redirected and poked all the way down for an icing by Angie Heppelman. This season, Eden Prairie has beaten the likes of Minnetonka, Wyzetta, and Edina. Some of their key victories, key losses against this Hopkins team. Last Saturday against Minnetonka, 3-2 over Benilde St. Margaret's at the championship level matchup between Benilde St. Margaret's and Eden Prairie during the midwinter meltdown. Hillmurray and Eastview also shutout winners over Eden Prairie during the first month of the season. Centennial picked up a win as well. Hopkins taking a look at some of their play. Before that, we'll look at the late conference standings, which has Hopkins in first place at 4-1 overall. Minnetonka right behind at 3-1-1. Eden Prairie is 2-2. Edina is 1-3-1. And Wyzetta is 1-4. They started off the season 12-0 as a shot is scored down low by Eden Prairie. Good job cycling the puck around. And they'll take a 2-0 lead with just 8.9 seconds on the first period clock. Aaron O'Neill caught by surprise, did not see the player to the right of the right post, working in along the goal line. And Josie Olsen picks up the goal. She had 3 assists in that Duluth victory. A victory over Duluth during the week. Now scores her 8th goal of the season. She's up now to her 7th goal of the season, now up to 18 points. Just 3 shots on goal for Hopkins, 8 shots for Eden Prairie. Again, 2-0 is the lead for Eden Prairie on goals on the power play by Charlie Dahlquist and just before the buzzer by Josie Olsen. You're watching PSB Media's coverage of EP Girls Hockey.
Think about the best athletes in the world, no matter the sport. How did they rise above the competition? These athletes didn't get to the top of their game on talent alone. They trained hard, and they trained right. PTI will work with your athlete to reach new heights. They'll get a high-level customized program from a skilled professional who truly cares about and understands your athlete's needs. The results at PTI will give your son or daughter the confidence and determination to unleash their full potential. Performance Therapy Innovations, where athletes get results.
Welcome back to the Eden Prairie Community Center. Kevin Ford with your coverage of Eden Prairie girls hockey. After one period of play, they've looked like maybe the number one team in state, not the Hopkins Royals, out shooting the 20-1 loss Royals by 8-3 total, and have 2 goals, one on the power play, a coast-to-coast goal by Charlie Dahlquist at 3:31 of the first period. And then at 16:51 of the first, Josie Olson was able to score on a feed down low from Charlie Dahlquist. Kind of blindsided goaltender Aaron O'Neill. And it's real hard to score 2 goals in any period this season off of Aaron O'Neill. Trying to pull up some numbers for you. I think the season high for goals allowed by the senior goaltender has been 4 goals. She played in the Edina tournament against Irondale, but other than that, held every opponent to 2 goals or less in every other start this season, including pitching 5 shutouts, one of them taking place against Eden Prairie on January 2nd. The Eagles this season averaging 3.6 goals per game, a little bit down from last year. Rely on good passing, great depth, and unrelenting energy as part of that great depth. They've done a nice job. All 3 lines we've seen tonight have played fairly consistently and aggressively for Jamie Grossman. It's been the top line, however, that has produced both goals. Head-to-head matchup-wise, Eden Prairie has gotten the better of Hopkins since 2009. 2010 is when they all joined this new Lake Conference. Overall, Eden Prairie is 5-2-1, but do have that most recent setback this season. Taking a look at some other scores around the area and around the state. 8-0, excuse me. Looks like East Grand Forks defeated Park Rapids. That was a lopsided victory for EGF. Simley and South St. Paul, after one period of play, are tied at 1. Minnetonka is trailing Wayzata 1-0 midway through the second period at the Plymouth Ice Center. Proctor Hermantown and New Prague are scoreless. That's just underway. Benilde St. Margaret's on top of another private school, Tutino Grace, 2-0. And a couple other games of note taking place later on today. We'll have Hill Murray hosting Chaska Chanhassen. Good matchup there. Chaska Chan is 13-5-1. Hill Murray 13-3. Maple Grove and North Metro. Maple Grove, a good team. North Metro still trying to find itself. A couple other games to point out. Rosemount and Lakeville South. Rosemount, not the greatest girls hockey team, so Lakeville South will look to try to push toward the top of the South Suburban Conference standings. And Breck and Blake, normally one of those marquee private school matchups, 2 of the better teams historically in single A. Blake 14-5, Breck 5-13-1, so we'll see how it all plays out. That just started moments ago. We don't have an update on it for you. Later on tonight, Eden Prairie is playing a Lake Conference game. The boys taking on Wayzata. And if you want to take a look at our schedule, psbmn.com. see all the other games we have coverage of, not only today, and I beg your pardon, Eden Prairie is taking on Minnetonka. We also have EP and De La Salle girls basketball. Eden Prairie girls off to a great start this year, even losing Samantha Trammell, one of the better players, as a projected graduate of the 2015 graduating class. They're off to a hot start, ranked number 8. De La Salle has won 3 straight championships at the 3A level, so a fun game to watch for that at Eden Prairie High School. If you can't make it, then we've got it on psbmn.com. Couple more minutes before the start of the second period. We'll take another brief break and come back. Eden Prairie on top of top-ranked Hopkins 2-0.
Hello, beautiful. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hi, Anthony. How much did my discount double check save me?
About $150.
Done.
I don't have State Farm, but insurance, find me money.
I got you $1. Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. There to help you with unexpected savings. That's getting to a better state.
Visit Brandy Warmbier's State Farm Insurance Office, located off Singletree and Flying Cloud Drive, online at brandywarmbier.com.
Woohoo! This is the best dirt bath ever!
Larry, what's with all that racket?
I'm loving my new digs. This compost is amazing. Come on in, give it a try.
What are you talking about? Oh yeah, you weren't kidding, Larry. This stuff is great.
The Mulch Store has compost your garden, and yes, even the worms will love. Stop by any of the Mulch Store locations in Burnsville, Minnetrista, Rosemount, and Shakopee to pick up the best compost in the Midwest. Online at mulchstoremn.com. Also shop rocks, seed, soil, edging, and more. Now's the time to make your neighbors green with envy.
Store locations in Burnsville, Minnetrista, Rosemount, and Shakopee.
The Sun Current is proud to be your community news leader for over 50 years. Each week you can read their in-depth coverage on local government, school district news, high school sports matchups, community events, and newsmakers. The Sun Current's website is now mobile user-friendly and provides breaking local news coverage daily. Check it out at current.mnsun.com.
Think about the best athletes in the world, no matter the sport. How did they rise above the competition? These athletes didn't get to the top of their game on talent alone. They trained hard, and they trained right. PTI will work with your athlete to reach new heights. They'll get a high-level customized program from a skilled professional who truly cares about and understands your athlete's needs. The results at PTI will give your son or daughter the confidence and determination to unleash their full potential. Performance Therapy Innovations, where athletes get results.
Room right here. 25 seconds left prior to the start of this second period. Watching PSB Media. 2-0, Eden Prairie with the advantage. So we're getting ready for the face-off once the music stops. Just waiting till the countdown finishes as well. This is the second of 2 regular season meetings between Hopkins and Eden Prairie. So far the total scoring is equal at 2 goals and 2 goals. With Hopkins winning a 2-0 game January 2nd, and Eden Prairie up in this one 2-0 as well. Dahlquist gets a feed up ahead to Josie Olsen. Finds Happelman, a shot comes in and a save made by Aaron O'Neill. 16:34 left. Second period. Eden Prairie now has 9 shots on goal to 3 for Hopkins. Face-off will be won by the Hopkins Royals. Nina Rogers trying to get it out, instead turns it over. Anna Johnson taken down, penalty going to be called. on Nina Rogers again for the takeout of Anna Johnson with 16:25 left. So Nina Rogers, for the second time, has a minor penalty tonight. And the face-off will be won by Eden Prairie. But Hopkins takes it and clears their own end. Good pursuit by Rachel St. Clair. Eden Prairie trying to clear it out, set up something offensively with 90 seconds to go on the power play. 1 for 1 on the afternoon. But this one a little bit more dysfunctional, out of sync. To start at least. Heppelman to Dahlquist. Dahlquist tries to center a pass. It's broken up nicely by the Hopkins defense. Now an odd man rush opportunity. Leaving it behind for Boyd. Good closeout by Charlie Dahlquist. And she pokes the puck away. Lauren Boyle goes down hard against the backside boards. Get a laugh from a couple of the Eden Prairie fans. She's all right. Heppelman leaves it for Ridland. Through the slot, shot redirected, and then punched in by Kate Ridland. The puck's dangling out in front of Erin O'Neill as she dove to cover up the initial shot. And Ridland followed through just like a basketball player following her own miss and slapped it home for the third goal of this game. 3-0 Eden Prairie, 2 on the power play. And what a great start by these Eagles. For Ridland, that's goal number 6 on the season. Now has 11 points. And with 14:53 left in the second period, Eden Prairie looks to continue to put the pressure on. Angie Heppelman and Lauren Boyle get credited with the assists. Ridland from her own end. Board passes it ahead to Anna Johnson. Bleeds through. And back to take it from her own zone is Gretchen Patterson. Corbin Boyd centers right to the side of the net. And Dobchuk able to cover up. The 5th shot on goal officially recorded right there. I believe that's the first for Corbin Boyd. Face-off is won by Hopkins. Shot goes wide of the net. Icing waved off as Hopkins even strength right now, trying to get something going offensively. It was a pretty evenly matched game in Minnetonka at the ice arena there on January 2nd, but Corbin Boyd got a couple of goals. And Eden Prairie couldn't set up long enough to generate too many great scoring chances. They ended up trying to take some shots in transition just to try to beat Erin O'Neill, the senior goaltender, as you see kind of in the shot here. On that Thursday night, tonight, it's been a different story. Eden Prairie very quick. In open space, they've moved well, flowed brilliantly, and have a 3-0 advantage. Here comes an opportunity perhaps for Hopkins. A penalty is going to be called backside, looks like on Molinar for the takedown of Corbin Boyd. Seems more incidental. That's what the Eden Prairie fans thought. So once Eden Prairie touches up, there'll be a penalty assessed to the Eagles. For now, Hopkins plays on the delayed call. Finally touching up is Josie Olson. Heading to the box, I believe, will be Carly Molinar. That is the case. Her third penalty of the game. Be a 2-minute penalty, and we'll see how Eden Prairie can handle this penalty kill. Already killed off double minors on Molinar in the first period. Hopkins 0 for 2 on the chance. Want a tripping penalty there. Did the Hopkins Royals fans? Won't get it. Shot goes in high. Dobchuk makes the save with the glove, then drops it. A slapper goes into the net. Powerful shot from the point by Nina Rogers. And Dobchuk, almost no reaction time. That's like a 98-mile-an-hour fastball going up belt high through the strike zone. This one beats Dobchuk on the ice. 5-hole it looked like. And Hopkins is on the scoreboard. 3-1 they now trail on the 26th goal of the season for Nina Rogers. So this time, Eden Prairie can't kill off the penalty. Hopkins is a good team on the power play. Now comes Charlie Dahlquist, backside, broken up. As it was just underneath the stick of Lauren Boyle. Cherry picking is Boyd. She's going to backhand it. Save made by Dobchuk. Corbin Boyd trying to get this momentum fully swung in Hopkins' favor. Won't happen. Good pursuit on the back check by Dahlquist. I don't think it affected Boyd too much, but couldn't maybe do an extra bit of a move, an extra deke to try to beat Dobchuk closer in on net. Off the face-off, puck goes right to Dobchuk. She'll cover, so it'll be another face-off. Pretty offensive-minded game so far. Definitely a lot of talent offensively out there, but both teams known to have great defense and goaltending as well. Dahlquist shot, save made by O'Neill with 10:47 left. Sections were to start today. Eden Prairie would get the 1 seed just ahead of Edina. The QRF also winning the head-to-head, which would give the Eagles the advantage. Chaska Chanhassen would be the 3, Jefferson Kennedy the 4. Holy Family Catholic, Prior Lake, and Shakopee round out the rest of Section 2. Foot race, DeYoung goes in, puts a shot in right into the blockers of Dobchuk, able to make the butterfly save. There was a lot of speed coming in on DeYoung. Trying to play that cherry pick a little bit more. Are the Royals again to generate scoring chances? Seeing if There may be a penalty as well. I didn't see any signal. The referee's talking. And a penalty. How they're going to say. So a penalty shot will be taken. I don't know about the penalty call, but DeYoung was flying in. We'll get a penalty shot here. Tries to make a move, and a save made by Dobchuk. DeYoung pushed all the way to the right side of the crease, had little real estate to work with. And a fantastic effort by Dobchuk, maybe to steal the momentum right back, which was swinging lately in this second period in favor of the visiting Royals. So a huge defensive stand for Eden Prairie, as Hopkins' style of offense has opened things up. Boyle loses the handle. Boyd to DeYoung. Can't quite keep possession. Olsen plays it back behind the net, where it's left back behind by Dahlquist. Centering pass deflects. Heppelman clears. And Nina Rogers is there defensively. 10 minutes to go in the second period. Some miscues, but able to break the zone with the Royals. Rogge. Good weaving. Jackknifes a shot in. Ridlin giving pursuit. Molinar goes down with Sheeran. Rogge skates in, can't get a shot cleanly away. Brousseau puts a spinning puck out in front. Rogge clears up and scores the fourth goal of the game. Second time tonight we've seen cleanup at the basket, or at the net. Getting basketball analogies in my head, say basket, but Brousseau threw that one in from the top of the right face-off circle. It was spinning on its head like a dreidel. Rogge able to somehow get a clean stick on it, sweep it around on the wraparound across the crease right to left, and beat Aaron O'Neill, who again is left sprawled face first in front of her own net. So Rogge with her sixth goal of the game. There's another penalty as Brousseau was beaten. Just throws the shoulder into the backside of the Hopkins Royal player, Stella Haberman. Fun game to watch from Eden Prairie's Community Center. Another power play chance for Hopkins. So Brousseau got an assist on that Rogge goal, her 8th of the season. For Rogge, her 6th goal. 2 for 2 today on the power play for Eden Prairie. 1 for 3 so far for Hopkins on the man advantage right now. Nina Rogers, top of the right face-off circle, deflects out in front, and Dobchuk able to cover it up. It's a dangerous puck. It's high in the air, skipping around off the ice. Dobchuk bear pounces on it. 4-1. It's the score, 8:16 left in the second period. And Eden Prairie able to clear their own ends, trying to kill off this power play. Stolen away and a shot. O'Neill makes one save. Ridland tries to collect the puck. O'Neill without her stick. Shot goes wide, and O'Neill finally able to collect the stick. A misplay defensively by Hopkins led to that opportunity for Eden Prairie, which they almost capitalized on. This has been a wild game so far, with Eden Prairie getting the better of the top-ranked Hopkins Royals so far. The first period, Hopkins held to just 3 shots on goal. Good job breaking up the passing lanes, as another penalty is going to be called on Kate Ridland for a takedown on a smaller St. Clair. So it'll be 5-on-3 for Hopkins right now. For 18 seconds, it'll be a 5-on-3. So Ridland gets called for another minor penalty. This is the part that could come back and hurt Eden Prairie, these penalties that they've committed over the last few minutes. The one on the breakaway goal attempt by DeYoung wasn't that bad of a penalty to take. I didn't know that there should have been a penalty call, but that was the call on the ice. And then Dobchuk on the penalty shot, able to make a good save. And they call a major penalty on Kate Ridland for checking from behind, and also gets a game misconduct for that penalty. Grossman talking with the official about it. It seemed a little bit aggressive of a call, since Ridland, all things considered, was already on the backside of Rachel St. Clair, and you saw the arms go out, but it was a push. And the reason, I'm going to suspect the rationale for the referees to make that judgment call, is that since St. Clair was face first into the boards on the push, that warranted the major penalty, so as to obviously deter other players from committing such egregious acts as well. So 7:08 to play in the second period. A game misconduct and major penalty assessed to Kate Ridland, and Brousseau is back out on the ice as a shot goes wide from Hopkins. So this will be their 6th power play of the game. And Kalowski, in a foot race with St. Clair, is taken down, and a penalty is assessed to St. Clair. So Kalowski, for her efforts, won't get a shot off, but draws a penalty. It's a huge one on Hopkins to at least even things up for 2 of the remaining 4:24 on this major penalty. This game has had just about everything happen in it. The latest, again, the game misconduct, check from behind. Eden Prairie, 2 for 2 on power plays tonight, will play at even strength. It'll be 4-on-4 for 2 minutes before Hopkins goes back on the power play. Nina Rogers. Weaving through traffic, gets a shot, goes just wide. Dahlquist. Action stalled momentarily behind the Hopkins net. Centering pass misread. The angle taken was a little bit off by Lauren Boyle. Good job skating backward. Getting up ahead with a full head of steam. Puts a shot in. Gets all the way to O'Neill, who deflects it high over the net. Heppelman keeps this one in the offensive zone. Brousseau's blast off the right blocker. Just getting a piece was O'Neill on a hard rip from Brousseau. Now Brousseau able to spin away from 2 Royals. Intercepted though, shot from Boyd. Covered up by Dobchuk, who was trying to keep the play flowing, but wisely decides to cover up. 45 seconds left, even strength 4-on-4. Then after that, we'll have 2:24 by my recollection of a power play left for Hopkins following that major assess to Ridland. Here comes Rogge, taken down. No penalty called as Rogge goes down hard into the boards. Clean takedown by Hopkins' Jelaine DeYoung along with Shorty Sheeran. 4:52 left. DeYoung leaves it behind. Patterson throws it in behind net. DeYoung picks it up. Just trips as she tries to spinorama around one of the Eden Prairie Eagles defenders. 3-on-1. Dangerous. Slap shot goes in from the backside for a second goal from Hopkins at even strength. They'll have 2:15 left on a power play. That one officially a power play goal there as they had just moved up to a 5-on-4 player advantage. So 2 power play goals now in so far the parts of 6 tries, 2 for 2 in the game for Eden Prairie, and it's 4-2. We'll see who got the goal. I know Nina Rogers got the assist. Corbin Boyd with the goal. So Boyd with their first goal of the game, second point of the game. Just writing down the stats for you so we can recap at the end of the game for Boyd. That's her 22nd goal of the season, 57th point. Nina Rogers nearing the half-century mark with 49 total points. 26 of them on goals. 145 on the man advantage for Hopkins. Trailing 4-2, 3:54 left in the second period. Nina Rogers holding the zone St. Clair. St. Clair aggressively fighting to keep it in the offensive end, but it's taken out. Nina Rogers will take a seat on the bench. Needs a breather. Replacing her, Alex Fry. Like a timeout was called on the ice. We'll take a timeout as well as you're watching PSB Media. Wild second period. It still has Eden Prairie on top, 4-2. Out of the timeout, Hopkins looking to set something up. Facing it off with Eden Prairie in their own end. 1:28 left on a power play for Hopkins for a major checking from behind penalty, and game misconduct was called on Kate Ridland. A little bit of a controversial call in that Ridland was already right behind. Ridland was kind of a push. Rachel St. Clair went down, and since she fell a little awkwardly into the boards, referees wanting to keep this game as safe as possible decided to punish Ridland for the offense. St. Clair weaves past Anna Johnson, played down low to DeYoung. Back out to the left point, rotates over, top of right face-off circle. Now inward, slapper blocked by Kalowski. Kalowski drew a penalty with her hustle and open ice a few minutes ago. Part of this major penalty run by Hopkins. Past 6 minutes and 6 minutes and 18 seconds. Eden Prairie's been killing off penalties or playing a player down. They were 4-on-4 for 2 minutes during that stretch. Able to clear the zone. Josie Olsen, 10 seconds left till Eden Prairie is back at full strength. A welcome sign, I'm sure, for the squad. And now at full strength finally, again after 6+ minutes of playing with 4 and a goalie out on the ice. Hystad comes in, shot save by O'Neill. 2:01 to play in the second period. Matchup 8 v number 1. Eden Prairie ranked in the top 10. Hopkins has been number 1 the past, I believe, 2 weeks now. And a great job this season. A 10-game winning streak. 20-1 overall. It's ridiculous how successful they've been. In the last couple years when Minnetonka's won the state title, they had more than 1 loss. Finished with 3 last year. Board fighting. Rousseau using the big frame to get the puck jarred loose. Dahlquist takes a shot to flex out. Now Heppelman looks to center. Nobody there. Molinar holds it in. Fighting. Shorty Sheeran almost clears it. Hopkins will switch sides of the ice. And Heppelman still fighting to keep it in. Finally it's cleared out by the Royals. Icing called on Hopkins with 56.1 seconds left. If you're watching PSB Media, I'd like to thank some of our sponsors, including Tavern on 4 and 5. Go there after the game. Get some savory melt in your mouth, crispy on the outside, doughy on the inside, homemade tater tots, along with a delectable burger. Maybe try some fries or some flatbreads as well. It's a great selection of beverages as well. 38 seconds left. And Tavern on 4 and 5 just a few blocks away from the Eden Prairie Community Center. Lauren Boyle takes a hard fall on her back. Slowly gets up, skates off. Another draw from neutral ice as the puck went out over the heads of the Hopkins players on their bench. 24 seconds left in a thoroughly entertaining, tons of action second period. It's 2-0 after 1 period of play in favor of Eden Prairie. 2 goals apiece scored by Eden Prairie and Hopkins in the second period. A major penalty, game misconduct, a penalty shot, some of the other highlights in this wild one. A shot goes high. Good save made by O'Neill. As Charlie Dahlquist rattled the bones of Aaron O'Neill. And that'll be the way we end this second period of play. You've been watching PSB Media's coverage of Eden Prairie and Lake Conference girls hockey after 2 periods complete from the Eden Prairie Community Center. It's 2-0 home team.
The Sun Current is proud to be your community news leader for over 50 years. Each week you can read their in-depth coverage on local government, school district news, high school sports matchups, community events, and newsmakers. The Sun Current's website is now mobile user-friendly and provides breaking local news coverage daily. Check it out at current.mnsun.com.
Think about the best athletes in the world, no matter the sport. How did they rise above the competition? These athletes didn't get to the top of their game on talent alone. They trained hard, and they trained right. PTI will work with your athlete to reach new heights. They'll get a high-level customized program from a skilled professional who truly cares about and understands your athlete's needs. The results at PTI will give your son or daughter the confidence and determination to unleash their full potential. Performance Therapy Innovations, where athletes get results.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm on it. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You're covered, Kevin.
Thanks, Melinda.
I have blah blah insurance, so person, come help.
Hey, Grandma. Now look who it is.
I see who it is.
6 callers ahead of us, Jimmy.
You're not helping.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. There to help you anytime, anywhere, anyway. That's getting to a better state.
Visit Brandy Warmbier's State Farm Insurance Office, located off Singletree and Flying Cloud Drive, online at brandywarmbier.com.
Woohoo! This is the best dirt bath ever.
Larry, what's with all that racket?
I'm loving my new digs. This compost is amazing. Come on in, give it a try.
What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. You weren't kidding, Larry. This stuff is great.
The Mulch Store has compost your garden, and yes, even the worms will love. Stop by any of the Mulch Store locations in Burnsville, Minnetrista, Rosemount, and Shakopee to pick up the best compost in the Midwest. Online at mulchstoremn.com. Also shop rocks, seed, soil, edging, and more. Now's the time to make your neighbors green with envy.
Store locations in Burnsville, Minnetrista, Rosemount, and Shakopee.
You're watching PSB Media's coverage of Eden Prairie and Hopkins girls hockey on this Saturday afternoon. Welcome to Eden Prairie Community Center. I'm Kevin Ford with your coverage. It's been a very fun game to cover. Hopefully at home or wherever you are tuning in, you've enjoyed it as well. Eden Prairie, number 8 in the state at 13-6 overall. Got off to a very quick start. They've been skating hard and really aggressively all game long. In the second period, the aggressiveness came back to bite them a little bit as there was a game misconduct major penalty and a couple other penalties as well. By my unofficial counts, I may have added incorrectly as I'm a one-man crew, but I think Hopkins has had 6 power play opportunities already in this game and 2 power play goals, both of them coming as part of their 5 straight minutes on the power play following the major and game misconduct. Recapping the scoring at 3:31 of the first period, Charlie Dahlquist on the power play. Just when it seemed like the Eagles weren't doing too much offensively, went coast to coast. No one picked her up as she crossed center ice and skated essentially right down the middle of the ice, all the way to the mid-slot before beating senior goaltender Aaron O'Neill with the backhand shot top shelf for Dahlquist. That was her 10th goal of the season. Josie Olson, 13:20 later, scored her 7th of the season on a good feed from Dahlquist at the doorstep. In the second period, Kate Ridland scored at 1:51 on another power play. Eden Prairie is 2 for 2 on the advantage. Heppelman and Lauren Boyle got assists on that for Heppelman. That's her team leading, or rather, it's second best on the team, but 24th point of the season for Boyle, team leading 20th point by a defenseman. At that point, again, 3-0 Eden Prairie. Nina Rogers came back in the waning seconds of a power play chance, scoring her 26th of the season. Corbin Boyd and Stella Haberman were in on the assists. Rocky then scored for the third time in 2 games, her 6th of the year. The freshman forward followed, just like Kate Ridland did, followed a miss out in front of the net, swooped in, wrapped it around the crease, and punched it home for, again, her 6th goal of the season. Isabel Brousseau was the one who fired a spinning puck that Rocky was able to corral and beat O'Neill for the goal. Later on, Corbin Boyd was able to score, and that was assist by Nina Rogers and Jelaine DeYoung. So that's the scoring we have in the second period. Also, Jelaine DeYoung had a breakaway chance. She was tripped up. I believe the penalty was assessed to Isabel Brousseau, and they called it a breakaway penalty, so a penalty shot was granted to DeYoung. Went in, tried to deke, and steered right of Dobchuk. Dobchuk hung with her the whole time and made a left pad save, and that helped Eden Prairie avoid a further swing in momentum in favor of the visiting Hopkins Royals. The Eagles have been outstanding at home this season, 8-1 compared to 4-4 on the road. Hopkins has been good everywhere, 8-1 on the road and 9-0 at home, along with a 3-0 record at neutral sites. Let's take a look now at some of the other games taking place around the state. Mentioned a couple finals earlier. A good Lake Conference battle brewing between Wayzata and Minnetonka. 2-2, 6:57 left in the third period. Wayzata was winning that one 1-0 after 1 period. New Prague and Proctor Hermantown still in a 1-1 tie game. Benilde St. Margaret's has added another to go up 3-0 on Totino Grace. That start are just underway in the third period. And later on today, we've got Chaska Chanhassen against Hill Murray. That'll be at Aldrich Arena in Maplewood. Drop of the puck starts at 7:30 tonight on PSB Media at 7 o'clock. Brett Johnson has your coverage of Eden Prairie boys hockey as they play Lake Conference foe Minnetonka. We'll take a 30-second break and come back for the start of this third period as you're watching PSB Media. And the face-off to start the third will be won by Hopkins. Corbin Boyd, Nina Rogers, Jelaine DeYoung. That one's sent on in to flex off a skate by Laura Clemens. There's a shot out in front and a great save made by Dobchuk. Early pressure by Nina Rogers and this capable Hopkins offense. Out on the ice as well as Alex Fry, senior defenseman. He's got 9 points, 4 goals, and 5 assists. Face off again, won by the Royals, ranked number 1 in Class 2A. Eden Prairie's number 8. All Lake Conference teams are ranked in the top 8 as a backhanded shot goes wide. Hacking and trying to get the puck back is Angie Heppelman. She'll succeed with a clean takedown of Corbin Boyd. Far corner along the banner advertisements at Eden Prairie Community Center. Eden Prairie was working with it before losing the puck. Boyd on the line change just plays it on in. Brousseau up ahead to Astor. Finds Kolowski. Can't get it away cleanly. And St. Clair, one of the faster skaters on the ice, comes back. Gets a shot in on the pads. A save made by Dobchuk. Another shot goes toward the slot. Sweeping around, can't get a look. Sheeran's blast goes above the crossbar. And Hopkins continues to be aggressive in the early minute and a half of this third period. They'll have to play it back out and reset. Patterson slings it on in. Brousseau zips a pass up ahead. Bled through, but Rogers gets it now for Hopkins. Skating quickly on in. A fastball shoots in a high over the crossbar. Rogers centers, broken up by a Hengler. And then Happelman clears the zone. DeYoung. Far side over there is Happelman. Dahlquist pokes it ahead. Gives chase. Getting back defensively is Fry. Laura Clemens is back there as well. Dahlquist holds the zone. In deep to Happelman. Shot goes in on O'Neill. Puck comes loose, but they blew the whistle. It'll be a face-off. O'Neill's had some belly flop dives out in front of her, and a couple times that's happened. The puck's still been loose. Whistle not blown, and Eden Prairie has scored a couple goals with pretty much a vacant net. Hengler gets a shot, goes wide. Good rip there from the 8th grader. One of 2 8th graders on the team, along with goaltender today, Alexa Dobchuk. In the 2-0 loss, Jamie Grossman, head coach of Eden Prairie, went with Whitney Paget. Kind of give the Hopkins Royals a different perspective this afternoon with Dobchuk between the pipes. Kind of think of it as baseball. You know, the first time through a lineup, some pitchers who aren't maybe aces can do very well against hitters, but once that second and third time through the lineup takes place, players make adjustments. So Grossman not wanting that potentially to happen. We've seen Eden Prairie make adjustments against Aaron O'Neill, being shut out in the first matchup, scoring 4 goals here this afternoon. Doubt O'Neill expected that, given the success she's had. 1.01 goals against this year. 958 save percentage, and today, after 2 periods of play, save percentage is just 71%, made 10 saves on 14 shots on goal. 11 shots on goal in total for Hopkins. They outshot Eden Prairie 8-6 in a even 2 goals apiece second period. 12:53 left in the third. Score still 4-2 in favor of the home team Eagles. Had 4 power play goals in all of the 6 total. Icing brings the puck back to Dobchuk's end. Scoreboard still says it's the second period. It is the third. Rogers centers. Put on in. Don't know where that pass is going by Fry. Rogers fighting for position. Like a snake, sends that one in on the crossbar. She was kind of lurking about and quickly snapped off a shot. Dobchuk was in position as it hit the outside part of the pipe. Happelman, good skating. 1-on-3, will take it anyway. Sweeps around, gets a shot. Tries to cut it back. Will center it. Intercepted by Fry. Turnover. Backhand Kalowski being pesky offensively there. Disrupting the play. The puck gets ahead. St. Clair's shot misses. Heistad down in front of us. Lobbying and taking the puck away is Kalowski. Pretty good energy and pace to this game all afternoon long. This third period has seen the longest scoring drought at any point of the game, with the exception of the first period. There was 13 minutes and 20 seconds of scoreless hockey played between the power play goal by Charlie Dahlquist and the end of the first period goal from Josie Olson. Other than that, we've seen goals scored within, doing some math quickly, within about 4 minutes every other time. So far, 6 minutes, 5 seconds gone by in this third period. And dating back to the end of the second, when the last goal was scored at the 2:15 mark, it's been nearly 9 minutes of action. Here comes Nina Rogers. Spins around. Good pressure D by Josie Olson to disrupt Rogers. And Rogers had to pass that one off, and it didn't work out. Eden Prairie got back defensively. Back checking has been strong in this one for the home team. Hangler. There's a shot and a score by Corbin Boyd, beating everybody to the backside. No chance for Dobchuk. Reaching out, lunging, and poking it in to make this a one-goal difference. The closest Hopkins has been all game long since it was 1-0. Corbin Boyd, scoring-minded, conscious. Yeah, they'll be in the right place at the right time. And Cooley poking that one in. A tough play. She made it look easy. Excuse me, sorry for that. DeYoung and Rogers with assists for Nina Rogers, her 50th point of the year. Anna Johnson, as Hopkins has been playing a little bit stronger as this game has progressed. Boyd has scored the last 2 goals. They were assisted in identical ways as well. Rogers with the first assist, DeYoung with the second. DeYoung is now up to 34 points this year. And Boyd now has 58. Puck is iced by Hopkins with 8:56 left in the third period. It's going to come down to the wire. So it seems at Eden Prairie Community Center. Rogers leaves it behind for Heppelman. Thought the trailer was one of her own. Heppelman skates in, broken up, collision. Couple players go down. Fans on all sides want some more penalties called. The referees want to see this great hockey game continue to be played on. I don't have a problem with that. Just let him play. Turnover. Slapper goes wide by Shorty Sheeran. A very costly mistake by Eden Prairie. Almost came back and set up a tie game. There's some confusion. Now giving chase is Josie Olson. Both these teams are such in panic mode that some mental mistakes have been made for the last 60 or so seconds ever since that third goal was scored by Hopkins. 7:37 left. Kolowski slows it down. Good feed up ahead to Olsen, but trying to make a second move, could not handle the puck. Intercepted by Kolowski. Works in, backhands, ricochets. Anna Johnson to Olsen. Intercepted. Poked away. Fry. Board pass. Kept in by Isabel Brousseau. She falls down. And Hanley will just play it into the offensive end. Both these teams, the way they've been skating, I would imagine, gasping for breath at times. Maybe see faster line changes. Right now there's been longer line changes. Boyd kicks that one up. A tough play, but a save made by a sprawling Alexa Dobchuk. We'll post this archive to our website's YouTube page. Definitely worth a second look. One of the more fun games I've broadcast this season for PSB Media. 6:35 left. Of course, if you're watching, know anyone else who gather pleasure or excitement from watching this game, tell them about it. Love to have as many people tune in as possible. Especially for a game like this. 6:16 left. Follow us on Twitter at PSBMN, Facebook PSB. If you do want to email me, try to respond at the end of this broadcast, PSB Channel 1 at gmail.com. Happelman, right point. Hangler redirected by Ridland, who's back in the game. Thought they assessed a game misconduct on her, but she's back in playing. She was the one who was assessed a major penalty for a check from behind. And the PA announcer initially said game misconduct as well. Maybe that's not the case, as she was just out on the ice. 5:55 left. Ridland does have a power play goal this afternoon. Four to 3. Eden Prairie hanging on. They've led throughout. This is the closest it's been since Dahlquist put Eden Prairie on the board 1-0 at 3:31 of the first. Steady scoring throughout this one. Second period saw 4 goals, 3 power play goals, a penalty shot, a major penalty, and lots of other action as well. Anna Johnson lost her mitt. Eden Prairie in the white scarlet with the black trim and black and scarlet armbands on the home sweaters. Hopkins in the navy. With the white shoulder struts and the white numbering. White rings around each one of the socks. 3 rings. And the base of the jerseys are the sweaters. And the elbows as well. Molinar. Board pass up ahead. Ridland. She'll sub out. And as I thought, switching up the lines a little bit more frequently now in the final 5 minutes, 4:22 left. In this third period, Eden Prairie still holding a 1-goal lead against top-ranked Hopkins, 10-game winning streak on the line. Eden Prairie won both matchups last year. That shot comes in from the slot by Johnson, covered up with the glove by O'Neill. Coming up next for Eden Prairie, they'll be taking on Wayzata on the road on Tuesday. Hopkins, meanwhile, will be playing Edina on Tuesday night. So if Eden Prairie were to hold on and win this one, it would open the door for Minnetonka maybe to claim first place of the Lake Conference. They're playing against Wayzata. They were tied last time I saw. Both teams with one loss. Minnetonka has a tie as well. So Hopkins is currently a half game ahead for first place. Eden Prairie right now 2-2. Wraparound shot. Save made by O'Neill. Hanley stalls over on the far side. Heppelman skating quickly, weaving, surveying, finds Brousseau. Her shot blocked. Brousseau gets taken down by the skates of Corbin Boyd. Good job keeping it in by Brousseau. Boyd, pass ahead for Nina Rogers, trying to generate another scoring chance. Is held up, centering pass, no one home, unable to hold the zone. Was Fry, she lunged ahead. Dobchuk makes a save on a pass from center ice. Ends up going in on net. I'd like to thank some of our sponsors, including the Mulch Store, Performance Therapy Innovations, Randy Warmbier of State Farm Insurance, Tavern on 4 and 5, partnership with BEC TV and the Sun Current for Bloomington Athletics for BEC, and Sun Current for Bloomington and Eden Prairie, and some of our other sponsors as well that I've not yet mentioned. 1:36 left in the third period. 4-3, the Eagles with the advantage. And doing a good job keeping the pressure on Hopkins. Staying aggressively, liken this to a football team trying to kill clock, still running their regular offense and defense. Eden Prairie fans wanted the icing, but didn't get it. 60 seconds left in this action-packed game. An opportunity pushed across the crease for Hopkins, and Rachel St. Clair has it. Coming away, Corbin Boyd backside. Can't get a shot off. Stick got tied up with Kalowski by Shorty Sheeran, and unable again to hold the zone was Fry as Patterson goes down to get it. Hopkins has pulled O'Neill in net, giving up a tie for season high 4 goals in this one. Just the second time this season she's allowed more than 2 goals. The senior had a 1.01 goals against average heading into tonight, .958 save percentage, but those numbers injured by Eden Prairie's offense this afternoon. 29.5 seconds left. Hopkins looking to generate another chance against the 8th grader Dobchuk, who's been spectacular all season long. Face-off is won by Eden Prairie, and going back to get it is Fry. She'll be trapped in the corner, but gets away from the trap. St. Clair up ahead. Onside is the call. Nina Rogers pressured by a couple Eden Prairie Eagles. They're packing it in tight around Dobchuk. 5 seconds left. Anna Johnson clears it out. And the Eagles will upset the top-ranked Hopkins Royals by a final score of 4-3. What a performance overall by Eden Prairie, overcoming a couple of penalties and a very infraction-filled second period. They hold on for the victory, 4-3. Strong effort by all parties involved. Hopkins, as we pan over to the losing team, ending their 10-game winning streak, did an excellent job as well. Eden Prairie got off to a fast start, and Hopkins clawed their way back. Kudos to this team for not giving up and making it such a wild finish at the end. 4-3 your final from the EP Community Center. We'll come back to recap how it all went down right after this. Your post-game wrap-up is brought to you by the Sun Current.
The Sun Current is proud to be your community news leader for over 50 years. Each week you can read their in-depth coverage on local government, school district news, high school sports matchups, community events, and newsmakers. The Sun Current's website is now mobile user-friendly and provides breaking local news coverage daily. Check it out at current.mnsun.com.
And after conferring now, the referees say there's 2.5 seconds left on the clock, so we'll have to do this all over again. What an awkward way to go out. That'll be the final buzzer, and just like a review in the NFL, same story. Results on the field stand, and again, now Eden Prairie can be credited with knocking off the top-ranked team in 2A. We'll do our Sun Current post-game wrap-up now, which is brought to you by the Sun Current of Eden Prairie, your community news and high school sports coverage leader. You can check out next week's paper or go to current.mnsun.com for in-depth coverage of Eden Prairie community and highlights from this game. Eden Prairie had 20 total shots on goal, 16 saves made by Aaron O'Neill, 17 shots in the game for Hopkins. Just a testament to how well these defenses stood up. I mean, the offenses were able to score time and time again, but not a whole lot of looks for either offense, taking advantage of the chances they got. Starting off first period scoring, Charlie Dahlquist got a power play goal, going coast to coast to make it 1-0 at the 3:31 mark. Our longest non-scoring stretch then came 13 minutes and 20 seconds later. Josie Olsen on a feed from Dahlquist scored right at the doorstep to beat senior goaltender Aaron O'Neill. Kate Ridland to start the third period on another power play chance. Eden Prairie would go 2 for 2 on power plays. Ridland, her 6th of the season, banged it in, followed her own miss on a save made initially by O'Neill, then slapped it past the blocker's side, or stick side, check that, of O'Neill, who's over on the Eden Prairie bench congratulating the play of Lauren Boyle and others. Great sportsmanship shown by the senior of Hopkins. Then finally Hopkins got on the scoreboard, a power play goal from Nina Rogers. A power blast from the point beat Dobchuk before she could even react to the shot. Beautiful play there from the University of Minnesota bound senior, who scored her 26th goal at that time on the season. Boyd and Haberman with assists. Boyd has been an Eden Prairie Eagles enigma this season. She's got 5 points and have been a part of every single goal scored against Eden Prairie this year. She then scored 2 goals in the third period, which was following a goal by Naomi Rogge, her 6th of the year, and that's how we ended up with this 4-3 final in favor of the Eagles. Eden Prairie moves to 14-6 on the season, 3-2 in the competitive Lake Conference. Right now, Wayzata and Minnetonka are playing. I'll see if I can get you a score update in that one, as Hopkins drops to 4-2 overall. So unless Minnetonka loses, they'll be in second place in the Lake Conference. And right now, it looks like, wow, Totino Grays scored 3 unanswered in the third period to tie up Benilde St. Margaret's. They're playing in overtime. And Minnetonka did come back on Wayzata to win, so the Skippers number 1 again. The Lake Conference standings with a 4-1-1 overall, or conference record, 16-2-2 overall. Edina's 1-3-1 in Wayzata after a 12-0-1 start, getting to Lake Conference play. Won just 1 of 6 inter-conference games there. Up next for Eden Prairie, the Eagles will be taking on Wayzata at Wayzata at the Plymouth Ice Center. And for Hopkins, they've got, looks like Edina next at home before finishing up the season at Minnetonka and at 10-win Maple Grove. Well, I appreciate you all watching this great girls hockey game. Again, later on tonight probably. Check on our homepage, YouTube page to be more precise. The link is right there on the homepage just above the Today's Broadcast section. And we'll post this archive of this great girls hockey game. Again, Eden Prairie victorious over Hopkins by a final score of 4-3. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to tune in tonight to Brett Johnson's call of Eden Prairie boys hockey, or Brian Hawks' call of Eden Prairie girls basketball against 3-time defending state champions at the 3A level, De La Salle. For Kevin Ford and the rest of this PSB crew, we wish you a fantastic Saturday afternoon.
Thanks for tuning in to live local play-by-play coverage of the Eagles High School sports. Tonight's broadcast was brought to you by Umbria Gourmet Pizzeria, The Mulch Store, Alpha Investment Advisors, Performance Therapy Innovations, Brandy Warmbier State Farm Insurance Office, and Healthy Training. Keep it tuned to PSBMN.com for more broadcasts of Eagles High School sports.